Yo, we got Schizo Jits here. Happy New Year's, everybody. Finally recovered. Been a few days recovery. We got a little bit of UFC 300 news. We got Tyron Woodley in the news again, waking up on New Year's Day to some a video, a sex tape, if you will. We'll get into that. Also have a little bit of Conor news. He broke his next opponent. I'm my own fucking belt. Like he just. I mean, I guess he just makes the rules. We don't know if it's not been confirmed yet from Uncle Dana. So, but he announced his next opponent and the date and at what weight, and that'll be in International Fight Week. But that was New Year's Eve. Then we also have the Crimea River Tour from Sean Strickland, going on Theo Von and getting emotional, and then just doing the whole thing right after this all started with the press conference a few weeks ago with Dreykus, and I'll get into all that. And also what we got, potential matchups in 300. I mean, it's kind of so far it's been a little bit of a disappointment. We haven't had any breaking headlines yet. Just a bunch of people being canceled out of that card. So I don't know what you guys think. I've seen one card. Let's get into that first. UFC 300. What's gonna happen with 300? I mean, what's going on here? 300 Sparta. This has got to be an epic card. But so far, the only news we have is we got Bo Nickel possibly opening the card with his comeback. They're talking Whaley and Grasso possibly for a super fight for probably the 125 belt. Flyweight, who knows if that's even going to happen or not. That's definitely not a headliner, but it's a good fight. I mean, definitely want to see that one. There's rumors of Pahea and Aspinall at heavyweight for the interim belt, interim title. That would be freaking fireworks, but a little, crazy matchup for sure. Definitely some craziness there, but definitely who wouldn't tune in to see that? A chance for Pahea to get his third belt and become a become a triple double champ. Triple UFC champ and a double glory champ. I mean, that's something that's never been done. But we'll see what happens with that. So far, it's just the rumor. That's it. And there's also Michael Chandler and Conor. That's definitely out for 300. I mean, according to Conor, because that's the announcement he made, was that he's gonna fight Michael Chandler June 29th, International Fight Week at 185. So who knows if he's trolling Chandler or what's going on with that. I mean, there's been so many rumors with 300. Conor and Nate Diaz, they were talking that trilogy. Then I think Nate said, actually Nate didn't say that one's out. They're also talking about Nate Diaz and Poirier, and Poirier said that's not happening. So, I mean, Nate Diaz isn't even with the UFC at the moment, but he is, I think, under talks with them, so maybe under negotiations for that. So, I mean, that's still a possibility to see Nate Diaz on UFC 300. I mean, who wouldn't want to see him fight again? But and Poirier, that's a great matchup. Who knows? But another one with Khamzat and Adesanya, which Adesanya said he's not going to fight till 2027. But then he said, I was just bullshitting. And, and he's already been working out, getting a little stronger. And, and who knows, the money's right. That fight could happen. But for that fight, Khamzat just recently came out and said that, showed a lot of pictures of him just being sick, so he was really ill, so, I mean, who knows when he's going to be able to even get into camp again and start fighting or what. So, so far, UFC 300 is not looking good. Let's put it that way. Leon Edwards came out and said he's fighting Bilal, UFC 300, but like I said, nothing's been confirmed by Uncle Dana or the UFC. So we don't even know if that's a truth or not. And that's definitely, I mean, that's a good fight. It probably is a fight to make. Bilal's next in line, but that's not, like a main event or the main event, fight, I don't believe, for a UFC 300 Sparta card. I mean, it's got to be something epic, I would think. But, I mean, a lot of people don't really, especially after Leon Edwards' last fight with Covington, which was kind of not a great fight. I mean, it was a good fight for him. Obviously, Covington didn't really show up, but same time, it's like it wasn't the most exciting fight. Bilal's kind of notorious for having fans hate on him for not having an exciting style. Although I thought he did look really good against Sean Brady in his last fight. So I think that Bilal definitely could challenge for the belt and maybe dethrone Edwards, on that night. But there's also, even on that the next month, because UFC 300 would be April, And then the next month is a London card. So, I mean, they might even want to save Aspinall and Edwards for that card. And in these first 3 months, there's already bangers of, matchups that aren't going to be able to make it on UFC 300 because they're already booked, all these fighters. So, I mean, that's another rumor. I mean, like I said, who knows what's going to happen with this card? It's more like Masvidal, Gamebred. He just came out and unretired. So, I mean, maybe he'll be available for UFC 300. I could see a situation where maybe Justin Gaethje and, the highlight versus Gamebred in I guess, a unification of the BMF belt, if you will. I mean, that could be an exciting. Who wouldn't want to watch that? I mean, anytime Gaethje fights, you want to watch it. So, I mean, that'd be a crazy matchup. But like, this is all speculation because the UFC hasn't really came out and said anything yet. Dana's on vacation, so I think he said next week he's going to come out with some matchups, start breaking some stuff. But I mean, we already got January. We got Sean Strickland. Like, as far as belts, I mean, that's the middleweight belts. January 20th, Dricus Du Plessis and Sean Strickland fighting for that. And then in February, you got the featherweight bout where you got Volk and Ilya Taporia fighting. And then you got Sean O'Malley and Chito fighting in March for the bantamweight belt. So all those champions there's no way they're going to be able to be on UFC 300. Maybe middleweight, if it's a quick turnaround, a quick stoppage, or no damage done, we could see that happening. But that's still, I mean, you never know what's going to happen in a fight. Someone could get cut and that's done. You still can't like say, all right, well, if that happens, then we could book. They need to start making announcements now. The fans want to know what's up with UFC 300. I mean, so far it's not looking good. Aspinall, I mean, their only champion, I think, Poatan, Alex Pereira, he's definitely available to fight, I would think, at 300. Maybe Izzy comes back and challenges for that bout, light heavyweight. I mean, that's a barn burner. That's a great fight that people will still want to see no matter what. They're both big draws. They have rivalry. It's 1-1 in the UFC and MMA, 3-1 for Pereira in his favor overall in that matchup. So, I mean, that's definitely always on the table. They could fight forever and people will watch it. So, I mean, that's a possibility as well that I think a lot of people are saying. Then you still got Jamal Hill, though. Dana said he came out and said he's next, to challenge Pereira. But I think push comes to shove, UFC 300, they need a card. They need some big fights. I mean, they could slip Izzy in there, even though he's coming off a loss, losing his belt. He could get him in there just because of the whole rivalry, and he beat Pereira in their last fight, so knocked him out cold. So, I mean, for sure, that'd be a matchup worth it. I mean, as far as now, UFC 300 still up in the air. We don't know what's going to happen. Nate Diaz, like I said, that's the name out there. Masvidal, there's names floating around. Ronda, there's rumors of her coming back against Misha. I don't see that happening, but who knows? I mean, what they're going to do, what they got up their sleeve. Money talks. I don't really see Ronda coming back. That fight would make sense, not Ronda coming back and fighting a top-tier person, fighter. At this point, I think her and Misha still are in that little older category as far as this old style, as far as MMA even, because I think as far as women and just MMA in general, it's all progressed and people have leveled up in all aspects. And that's a matchup that still could be intriguing because they're still kind of on a similar level, So, I mean, I don't know. Let me guys think who you guys want to see in UFC 300. I mean, it has to be the Sparta, the best card of the year, I would think. But, we got all these other good matchups before that. And we got Ramadan. We got, so it's kind of hard to see like Islam or the other Muslim fighters on that card as well. So it's like, who knows what's going to happen. I think they're trying to get on the earlier card, which I believe is March or so. So, I mean, before they go on their fast. So, I mean, like where UFC 300 is landing is not looking good as far as like just star power. But we'll wait and see. UFC might have something up their sleeve. Maybe there's some of these other arrangements are going to move parts around. I mean, John Jones, he's out at heavyweight with injury. Like I said, they could do the Tom Aspinall maybe with an interim belt. I mean, Poatan, that would be an amazing matchup. But I mean, it's kind of a scary matchup for Pereira going up to heavyweight with a guy so huge heavyweight with lightning fast hands and a jiu-jitsu background. But I mean, who knows? I mean, that's definitely a possibility. I mean, anything's possible for 300. Let me know what the matchups you guys want to see. Me personally, I mean, I'm down for a Gaethje Gamebred BMF fight. Maybe like I seen on Jackson podcast, the Rampage, I seen Josh Emmett not calling out, but saying that he would like to fight. Max. Blessed Holloway, which who wouldn't want to see that matchup in a 3-rounder, especially 3-round banger. I mean, that would be a crazy matchup right there for UFC 300. I mean, definitely that would springboard, or that would definitely put Josh Emmett right back in the mix after he just knocked out Bryce Mitchell at UFC 296. That'll put him right back in the hunt with a win over number 1 Max Holloway, one of the best featherweights of all time. So, I mean, that for sure, who wouldn't want to see that matchup? But, I mean, I don't know. These matchups are just right now, like it seems like everyone's booked. Or if that Conor could just be trolling, which brings me to that. Conor's announcement, New Year's Eve, drink in hand, Coke in nose, maybe, possibly, probably. But he said he's coming out. He's fighting Michael Chandler at 185, which brings you back to, like, if he is trolling, this is a master troll right here because, it's like, it goes back to when they were on Ultimate Fighter. You do as you're told, like when he basically tells Chandler, when Chandler says, I'll fight you at 185 or whatever. So now he says 185, which neither one of them ever fought at 185. Let's get it. They're both short for 185, but they were about the same height. So it would kind of cancel each other out, 5'9", 5'8", whatever. So, I mean, it wouldn't be that big a deal because they're both there. They're not fighting the biggest middleweight out there. They're fighting each other who are still comparable in size. So, I mean, that's obviously at any weight, people want to see Conor. And Chandler, I'm sure he'll bring it. He'll probably look like a freaking little tank or a big-ass tank, a short, stocky tank at 185. But that's a fight that is interesting. But if it is a troll job, like, kudos to Conor just for owning Michael Chandler, because as seconds after Conor comes up with his announcement, Chandler's all over the tour, social media, every platform saying, I always said I wanted you at your biggest, your baddest. Like, literally, he was waiting for the call from Conor. That just kind of shows you do what you're told, because he literally was waiting. He had everything ready to go. As soon as Conor mentioned his name, he was just like, thank you, Jesus. And he just started, just doing his thing on social media, getting his name out there. Of course, saying he's down. Chandler will fight anyone. He'll probably fight King Kong if he had to. He's just that type of guy, So that's something that's kind of funny if Conor is trolling and he is just going to come out and they're going to make an announcement like, no, Conor's going to be at UFC 300 against Gamebred Masvidal or Gagey or somebody like for the BMF belt, which will give them, make that a 5-rounder, I guess. I don't know if Conor with his new bulk and all that, he's going to be able to go 5 rounds, but that remains to be seen, what's going to happen. That's what I'm saying. Everything's still kind of up in the air with this whole year, first half of the year. So also kind of bummed the International Fight Week's June now. It was in July. It's right the day after my daughter's birthday, June 29th. So that's going to be tough. I want to go to that one, but we'll see what happens. Like I said, we can't take it until Uncle Dana and the UFC confirms it. We don't know for sure if it's a fact that Conor and Chandler are fighting or whatever. So that goes to that. So that Conor made his announcement. He got his, he got his little attention, whatever. But, that also brings us to January 20th. We got Dricus du Plessis challenging Sean Strickland for the middleweight belt, middleweight strap. And this is like, I mean, Sean Strickland, dude, I mean, you could tell it started like 2-3 weeks ago. They had their seasonal press conference announcing the big matchups of the first 3 pay-per-views, their opponents, of the year of 2024. So, and during that press conference, Sean Strickland, going off like he always does, just spewing all his insults, talking shit about Ian Gary, talking shit about Kobe and their wife, Ian Gary's wife, the cuck, and all this crap, right? Talking all this shit. And then Dricus brings up like, well, you think your dad, beat your ass? Wait till your dad ain't got shit on me. Wait till I get a hold of you. Basically, like, like if your dad whooped your ass. And then you could tell it triggered Sean Strickland. The press conference changed at that point where he's like, oh, he goes in kill mode. Like, I'll fucking kill you, man. Like he's just pissed off. So, I mean, and now he's kind of on a freaking, like I said, Crimea River tour. Like you can't throw stones and then you can't take it yourself. You can't dish it out if you can't take it. Kobe Covington talks all kinds of shit. People talk shit on him, and he's probably the same way. Maybe he can't take it. I don't know. Whatever. He didn't show up in his last fight. I get it. maybe it was a bad example, but Sean Strickland talked so much shit, talked about a fighter that, you know, got hit by a bus and died, a Brazilian fighter. And good thing he's not in the UFC. He can't even dodge buses. Makes a joke about that, joke about cucks and people's wives and everything else. But yet, as soon as you talk about his past that he brought up and he brought into light, all of a sudden he's in his feelings. And you could tell Dricus is under his skin. I mean, I was there. I was at UFC 296. I mean, we've seen in the crowd, you know, Sean Strickland, whether it's staged or not, he tries to get at Dricus, and Dricus is kind of talking crap from a row behind him or two. You know, Sean Strickland jumps over the thing, starts, you know, going to work on him, you know, in a freaking ball right there, selling the fight, obviously, but obviously Dricus was still under his skin from the press conference and this. So, and he even admittedly said, like, yeah, that shit was, like, you know, going too far, or some things you don't talk about, whatever. Okay, well, he goes on Theo Von, which, let's not get it twisted. Theo Von is like the most lighthearted interviewer out there. He's not Larry King getting people to cry out there. You know, he's not Barbara Walters. He's not even Joe Rogan, you know, like that. He's a comedian. He's an easygoing, lighthearted, funny guy. So his job, he's always trying to make people laugh. He's always saying off the wall, kooky stuff. I love Theo. You know, so it's like there's no way in how he's trying to get Sean to cry. You know, and Sean Strickland brings up some past stuff and starts talking about the abuse or his past and his dad and everything, and then he starts crying, and it gets emotional. Where Theo's even like, "Hey, sorry, bro. Sorry, man. We don't have to talk at all. Like, I didn't mean to bring it up. Like, you know, like where all of a sudden you got to see Theo's soft side. You know, like for Sean Strickland always saying that we're soft society and this and that. He's brought out Theo Von's soft side where he's like, sorry, bud. You know, like, I don't mean to go there, you know, like, or whatever, you know. So it's kind of like, man, don't be a hypocrite about it, dude. I'm saying, yeah, there's certain things you don't talk about, people's families, past, I get it. But if you're the one throwing those stones, you know, you can't have a glass chin or a glass house or whatever and cry about it, especially on a Theo Von, which is a comedic, you know, platform, you know what I'm saying? And so it's like kind of crazy. And then he goes on Brendan Schaub and he's talking about, yeah, I think more kids need to get beat by their alcoholic dads, toughen up this society. And obviously he's saying it in a joking manner. But I mean, Brendan Schaub, I mean, he ain't laughing. He's just kind of like, yeah, I can see that really affected you, you know, whatever. You know, so it's like he's still doing that and leaving himself open to get attacked, if you will. Like Dricus could have been saying he's joking, you know, like, oh, I was just joking, you know, like he was shit talking. They were shit talking back and forth, you know, right away. He's like, go fuck your coach, you know, you're a faggot and all this. So he's dropping F-bombs and talking shit to Dricus, but as soon as Dricus says something, now all of a sudden his feelings are hurt. He's all in his feelings. So it's like, come on, man, you can't do that. You know what I mean? So like a lot of fans are starting to give Strickland shit for that. And don't be wrong, I like Strickland. He's funny as hell. I think he's good. I think he's good for his character. He's good for MMA, UFC, all that. I'm just saying, don't be a hypocrite about it. If you're going to talk shit, you got to be able to take it too. Don't go on Theo Von of all podcasts and cry about it, you know. And then you go on Brendan Schaub, Food Truck Diaries. You guys are eating and shooting the shit, and then you're going to bring up stuff like that. And, you know, it's obvious Dricus touched a nerve and is under his skin. And that's what kind of worries me. Is he going to be too emotional for this fight against Dricus and fight off his game plan? Because Dricus is a dangerous guy for sure. Like, you know, if he gets up against a cage, I've watched the Weasel did a great breakdown of Sean Strickland's takedown defense, which is great. You know, he's real quick with his hands, quick reflexes. Even though he stands tall, you know, he still is able to fight with his hands really well, and that's all good. And I seen against Kamaru Usman was able to hold him up against the cage for a lot of their fight. But the difference between Usman and someone like Dricus, I mean, obviously Usman is a way more decorated wrestler and all that, but as far as Dricus, he's got way more devastating power in everything, every limb, kicks, hands, elbows. And if he's getting him in that position, he's going to be serving some damage. He's not going to be just holding on to keep position. He's going to be dropping bombs like he did against Robert Whittaker, like he does against everybody that he gets in that position. So, I mean, that's something that's definitely going to be a factor. You know, I think cardio-wise, Strickland is better because he can stay relaxed. He spars a lot more than everybody. So, you know, he's always in that combat zone where it's, you know, he knows, you know, he's always in the mix with that. So, I mean, of course, he could stay more calm under pressure. But it's a lot different, though, like somebody like Izzy, who, yeah, he did outclass, but Izzy's going around the cage, kind of staying away. He's a one-shot, one-kill, a sniper type dude. I mean, he just pick you apart from the outside. Dricus is more like he's going to throw bombs, put himself in the fire, and Strickland don't really have the power to just like one punch kill or knock out Dricus. Maybe once they're tired in the later rounds, he could do that, maybe get a finish, or just by outworking him. If Strickland wins, it's more like because of a pace, you know, and just 5 rounds of just touching him up, you know, not so much overwhelming and bombing on him. Like Dricus, he can win at any time. You know, he's shown, especially since his nose surgery, that he does have some cardio, and he brings in the same pace himself, but of throwing bombs. You know, he's got that judo background. He's got some good grappling submissions, stuff like that. So, and he, like I said, he throws everything with bad intentions. So, I mean, and Sean is hittable. He does like to reach a lot, you know, like he does throw his jab a lot, and he likes to counter with that jab or parry like your jab by putting his hands out a lot. And that's kind of how Alex Pereira caught him. You know, Alex Pereira made that read real quick where he put his hand out thinking it was a jab. It was a left hook and came in and dropped him. So, I mean, Dricus has like crazy power himself, even bigger guy. And he throws, like I say, he throws a lot of wild combinations out there, and he's like throwing bombs out there. So, I mean, it's going to be a crazy fight. I just hope he's not too emotional, and that could affect some guys. It could help them, you know, if you're mad, you know, it makes you train harder, motivate you more, or go out there and just be more focused. And some people, they get into it in their feelings, and they just want to do too much, and they can either gas themselves or leave themselves open. And that's the one thing I'm worried about. I'm not worried because, I mean, I'm leaning Dricus a little anyway, just because what he's done up until this point. But also, it's still up in the air fight, because the fight could go, you know, Strickland could outwork him for 5 rounds, tire him out, and then finish him or get the decision, or Dricus could come out there and starch him, I think, you know, like he did Whitaker, like, you know, Alex Pereira did to, you know, Strickland. So that's a breakdown for that fight and that card. I'll go over that more. We got a couple more weeks for that. But that's my take with that right now as far as Strickland. Don't go out there. Don't cry me a river after you talk all the shit you talk. You know, I get it. Not on Theo Von anyway. You know, go on freaking I don't know if Barbara Walters is dead, but go on Joe Rogan at least for that. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't even do that on Joe Rogan. You know, go on somewhere like where they're trying to bring out that emotion, you know, not a MMA or a lighthearted podcast like that. But I guess it just is what it is. I mean, it just makes me think that maybe his mental is not right for this fight. Someone actually got under his skin, and usually that's his job to get under people's skin. But yeah, we'll see what happens. And then lastly, Tyron Woodley, like I said, he made a new sex tape. He was munching. He was doing the carpet. Like, I found, I mean, man, I did see the video. I mean, you can't unsee it once you do. And whatever, dude. They, you know, I heard they say black guys don't eat snatch, but Tyron Woodley just debunked that stereotype. So, I mean, I'm proud he could do that and do the service. But, yeah, ain't nothing wrong with it. You know what I mean? It does suck that he had to see that, or if it was his wife or not, I don't know. I've seen some videos saying his wife's devastated, but I think could just be clickbait. I mean, it might have been his wife. It might have been his girl. Who knows who it was, but... And then a lot of people were saying she was fat. I thought she just looked thick. You know what I mean? She didn't look bad. I mean, yeah. But it was funny. That was the most head movement we've seen in the last 10 fights from Woodley. You know what I mean? So he did his thing. He finished the fight, but he finished that opponent off. But anyway, shout out to Tyron for that. What was that? I'll beat your ass. I'll eat your ass. I seen some memes like that. I'll eat your ass, like from his song, his rap song. But yeah, like I said, shout out to Tyron Woodley for that one. Don't be afraid to munch. I'm shit. How much shit? I'll be like Gene Simmons up in there. All right, that's all I got. Like, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think of the UFC 300 matchups. That's what everybody wants to know. That's what everyone's talking about. And what do you think about Sean Strickland? Is he going to be too emotional against DDP in this fight coming up? I don't know. I mean, it's not looking good, but like I said, you never know. Some people, it motivates them and feeds into that inner freaking maniac that he is, you know. So we'll see. Like I said, I'm a fan. I want to see him bounce back. I want to see a great fight. I want to see both guys at their best. And what do you think about the Conor as well? Is that like actual just trolling of Conor? Until someone else, UFC or Dana, comes out and says like this is official, I mean, it's kind of hard to believe. I mean, I don't know, because Conor's been saying he's coming back for a long time. We'll see. But yeah, that's all I got. Like, subscribe. That's all I got.